Hey everyone, I'm Sabrina Baker and I am a mom of two. I'm a special education teacher and I'm also a board certified behavior analyst. And I wanted to start this YouTube channel to just start adding some new little mini lessons and how-tos and some help for all types of learners. I have an Instagram account on and it's under Shaping the Spectrum. I also have a Facebook group. It's also called Shaping the Spectrum. And I post a lot of activities and things for all types of learners. I wanted to name it Shaping the Spectrum because learning is a spectrum. And I am trying to just basically make learning fun. So I post a lot of activities for little guys, early learners, and any type of learner, visual learners, students that need help in areas of fine motor or sensory or just visual. Having anyone really can do any of these activities. But I have noticed when I have a toddler, and she's 3 going on 4 soon, and she enjoys all these things that I've been doing. Because basically when I was in the classroom, I made a lot of materials, and then I went on maternity leave, and then my toddler got very busy and I needed to pull some of the activities out. So that's what I did. Anyway, I decided, since all of these activities have been very useful over the last few days, I figured I'd share them with everybody, and hopefully it could help someone if one day it's raining or you just run out of ideas. It's basically a way to collaborate with everybody on how to get through this time right now where all the kids are home. So I decided to post some mini lessons, and I'm going to share with you a little mini lesson that I made with my daughter to see if hold on, I'm actually just trying to figure out how to make this work because it's my first time doing something like this. Okay. So I made a mini lesson. It's called Shapes, and I did all the things at home. I never left my house. I was able to pretty much pull for whatever I have here in my house and created some activities for her. And I figured I'm going to start with shapes because she was learning about shapes when she was in school, but now that she's not in school, she's home with me. So I guess the first thing you should start with is definitely know what your child can do and can't do, because you don't want to cause frustration at the same time. If your child's not learning shapes, don't all of a sudden say, like, we're going to learn shapes today. Basically, when you're home right now, I feel like the most important thing you can do is basically help them maintain what they were doing in school, or what they were doing on a daily basis. I posted a video on schedules and how, like, just to keep maintaining the child's schedule is going to be really helpful. So don't try anything crazy new, but if they do know shapes, this is a great little mini home lesson that you guys can use, and definitely modify and make changes with whatever's going to fit your child. So basically the lesson's about being the shapes, obviously. It includes basic shapes, movement, sensory, fine motor, sorting, some reading, technology, and songs. And what I want to first say is that I do all of my prepping of stuff the night before. And I'm not, literally, I'm not letting this control my entire life. I have other things. I have an 11-month-old. I have a house to take care of. We're busy. But at the same time, when your child is actually busy and engaged, it actually helps, I think, for the day. I think it's important that play is wonderful, and my daughter plays all the time, but I think sometimes when it's an open-ended day all day long, it gets really difficult for them because sometimes kids don't know how to actually play without having some structure. So I prep at night. I actually put, when everyone's down sleeping, I usually put a TV show on and I just kind of spend a half hour cutting and pasting, doing all sorts of little things. So that way in the morning when I wake up, I'm ready to go. Another thing that I did that I thought could be helpful is that I took my computer and I attached it to one of my TVs, my bigger screen TVs, and I can now put whatever's on my screen up on the TV. And I'm sure a lot of you are like, well, I can do this with the smart TV, but I don't have one. So I have been doing a lot of stuff on my computer and then just basically pulling it up onto my TV screen, so then it's bigger for them. It actually kind of like resembles a smart board that most of the kids have at schools. And if not, it's also just helps visually. It's bigger. There's no keyboard in front of them, so they're not tempted to like tap on the keyboard constantly. So here is some things that we did together today. So I'm going to start, if I'm going to post some more of these mini lessons, I'm going to basically have the same format. This is what I did at school with my kids. Again, it's routine. Kids start to know what's going to happen. They start anticipating it. They know what's expected of them. And it also helps really guide the theme of the day. So today, the theme of the day was shapes. So we started with story time, and I utilized YouTube actually, and I Googled mouth shapes, and I had someone reading it, which was great because I actually could go run and do something really quick while my daughter watched mouth shapes. It was engaging. It was the lady who read it was wonderful. I also did the book that I picked, which is not actually this one down here, so don't go to this one. You can if you want, but the one that I ended up picking, I could always let you know which one it is, but there's a nice lady who's reading the book, and at the end she actually started talking about environmental signs and what signs shapes are in the community. So that was really great because actually during lunch, my daughter started naming things outside that had shapes. So I thought that was an awesome way to generalize like what we were learning in the morning. So we started with story time and we read mouth shapes. Then we did an activity/craft, and I called that on my schedule too. I said, okay, it's time for activity craft time. What I did basically here was take pieces of paper, draw a circle, a triangle, a square, and a star. Then I took clothespins, and I, again, drew a circle, triangle, square, and star, and I put them in an Easter basket, and I had her sit on one side of the room, and she had to go through and basically sort all of the clothespins. So here she is at the bottom, and not only is this an activity that she's sorting, she's identifying shapes, she's moving because she's up and moving, but it's fine motor too. Opening and shutting a clothespin is actually challenging, but it really helps with the grip, with your pincer grip. And so it really builds the strength so that they learn how to build the muscles in their hand and they can start writing better. So it's a really good way to activate your writing, your muscles in your hand. Actually, a few years ago, I would say that my daughter could not do this. It was really hard for her, but today she actually was able to do it. So she had a good time, enjoyed doing it this way. You can modify this, and if you don't have clothespins, you can just draw, take pieces of paper, sticky notes. You could cut out shapes and just have them sort it on the floor, on the wall, whatever, what you have in the house. The second thing we did was, I always have pasta in the house. And so I took the pasta out and I drew, again, the same shapes. I didn't bombard her with all the shapes because, like I said, you have to know your learner. And I know that she's just learning a few shapes right now. She doesn't know all of her shapes. And I didn't want to make this a stressful situation where she would shut down. I needed her to be able to enjoy this and have fun. So we took the noodles and we traced all the shapes. And that was a fun way of also talking about the sides. A triangle has 3 sides. A square has 4 sides. So she had a fun time doing that. That was our activity and craft. Then it was time for snack by that time. And what we did was we went into the cabinet and I said, what are some things that are in the shape of shapes? And she was calling them out. And the funniest thing was that popcorners are triangles. And she said to me, popcorn. And I said, well, popcorn's not a triangle. And then all of a sudden my husband popped out from nowhere and said, well, actually she's right. Popcorners are triangles. So I was really proud of her for making that connection. So she picked a circle, square, and a triangle from what we had in the cabinet. And we enjoyed the snacks, talked about shapes during snack time. So again, same with the theme, we're going with it. Then after snack, I decided we should do like a brain break kind of thing. I do these a lot in school, just kind of bringing the group back, starting back to, some activities, going from something that's less structured to now just kind of, gathering ourselves. So I put a song on the computer and, it's just, I YouTube shape songs. And anything that popped up, that I thought she would really like, I put it on and she was able to bounce around a little bit. We were back into our playroom where we kind of been doing a lot of our stuff. And it was a good way to transition to our next activity. Okay, so after, if I do post a lot of these mini lessons, which I'm hoping to do, I do a ton of stuff with rice bins. And if you check me out on Instagram, I actually have how to make the rice. I make rainbow rice with my daughter, which is so much fun, and it's easy. And I have a ton of rice right now in my house. And so we've been using it to make some colorful rice and sensory bins. And you can do so much stuff with rice bins. Just a sensory bin, honestly, it is, and cleanup's really not that bad. A lot of my friends are like, oh, we would never do rice in our house. But I put a plastic mat down, and basically I can just pick up the mat and throw it outside when I'm finished if there's any extra rice everywhere. But so what I did was I, again, took the same shapes that we worked on in the morning, drew them out, put them on colored paper, and then I cut a bunch of shapes out. And then she and I took turns just pulling out from the sensory rice bin, the different shapes. So we enjoyed sorting them together. But another thought was, so what happened was our schedule was, say this was scheduled for maybe 15 minutes. We ended early. And so I think a lot of parents, or even just being home, I realized that, say you set up a schedule and you start doing it in increments of like half hour to an hour. A lot of these activities that maybe I post or you see or find, like, they take a really short time with little kids. They fly through them. So just note that if you have a kind of like a backup plan in the back of your brain that you can do with what you're doing. So for example, we finished the shape activity pretty quickly, and I said, okay, what can we do next? So I actually pulled out a bunch of little animals that we had, and I started to hide them one at a time. I took a turn, she took a turn, and I used it as a language activity. And what I did was I said to her, you have 3 questions that you can ask me. And she would ask me questions, and then we would guess who was hidden in the sand. So for example, the first one might be like, say it was a monkey and I hit it. And so she would say to me, what does it eat? And I would say banana. And then she would say, what, where does it live? In the jungle? Does it have a long tail? Anything like that. So you could utilize the rice bin at that moment to do something else. But now that I'm thinking about it, what we could have done was actually taken the shapes, put them back in, and hid those, and said how many sides they have. Does it have a side? Does it not have a side? Use questions like that. That would have been a little high for her, I think. And I think I would have probably lost her during that activity if I did that. But if you do have higher learners, that would be a good activity to keep up the shape theme. If not, animals, putting them in there, little objects, like say you have Paw Patrol people, you put them in there and they can ask questions. What color do they wear? What do they do on the show? But it's a really great language activity as well. So just note that most of these activities are really quick. So I wouldn't plan it for like a half-hour slot if you're going to do it thinking like you're planning a schedule. So, or just have something that comes up next. So after that activity, we started doing movement. And I figured at this point, it was after lunch, after sensory activity, my daughter was getting a little antsy. And so we started, we did yoga. A girlfriend of mine actually told me about Cosmic Kids Yoga, and it was wonderful. She loved it. There was a Elsa Anna one, a Princess one, a Poppy one, Princess Poppy. But so yoga was her thing today. You could also do tons of other things. I make a playlist on YouTube where it's only movement songs, and I basically can put it on, and it's my daughter's up and moving for however long the playlist is, and that helps me throughout the day. Just when I need like a little bit of a break myself, or when I know that we can't go outside. It's raining actually right now, so I probably would be doing that at some point today. But some other places, other really good people that I use on YouTube is Kitty Music, Go Noodle, Dream English Kids, Pancake Manor, and The Learning Station. There's bajillions out there, but these are just some that I know that have good movement songs for kids. I was trying to find on Cosmic Kids Yoga something about shapes. I'm sure it's on there, but I didn't get a chance to find it, and my daughter already spotted Frozen, so we went with that. So basically that's my mini lesson for today. It's about shapes. It gets them moving. It also incorporates, I did use, the computer. I did use the TV, songs on the internet, the book was on the internet. So it's definitely engaging for kids who definitely, you know, do enjoy screens, but at the same time, you're controlling it. And it's also educational at the same time. So it's making learning fun is really what I always kind of want to go for. If you want some more ideas or tips, or if you like this, you can check me out on Shaping the Spectrum on Instagram or Facebook. And hopefully everyone's staying well. Happy Friday, and I will hopefully be on soon. Bye.